Good morning, everyone. How are you guys feeling this morning? Who slept super well? Good, good for you. Who's slightly hangover? who is still jet lagged? And yet here you are. Thanks so much for joining us again this morning at the MTNow Professionals Program. Who wasn't with us yesterday? Oh, you missed out. You missed out on such a beautiful program. Yesterday we had 3 dialogues with the different winners, and it was, well, I don't know how it was for the audience that was here, but for me it was very special. And I think if the host feels that the discussion or the talks are intimate and open, then that's the most beautiful gift you can give your audience. So we're going to try to do that again this morning. Yesterday was quite intensive because we had 3 dialogues. Today we're only having 1 dialogue, and after that, you are all going into some form of speed dating. I will explain more later after the dialogue on how it's all going to work. But for now, welcome, and I hope you will join in on the conversation. So if you have any question or any remarks, please let me know, and this baby will come to you. For the people that don't know me, that weren't here yesterday, my name is Hasna Maroudi. I'm a moderator and I'm a journalist. I run an intersectional feminist platform here in the Netherlands that is called Lilith Magazine. And I am not from the music theater field, yet I have immersed myself into this field the past few weeks. So I think I know quite a bit now. The rules for the dialogues are simple. When we talk to each other, we are respectful. We might not always agree. We might even disagree fiercely, but whatever happens, respect is the basis on which we talk with each other. I know I feel like a school teacher saying it, but sometimes it's necessary. With me here today are Grygoriv, Illia, Razumeiko, Dóra, Halas, Fruzsina, Nagy, and Dóra. Welcome. For this segment, I am honored to have you here with me. We've already seen you on stage in Theater Rotterdam before. Coming from Ukraine, being here with us today is very special for so many different reasons. But I can also imagine that it might feel a bit, I don't know, upsetting as well, that wherever you come, it's the first thing that comes to mind is what is happening or what is being done to Ukraine at the moment, instead of you being able to just be here and be happy because the prize that you won. Can you?
Good morning, people. We are very happy to be in such a beautiful festival, such a beautiful program. It was difficult for us to make musical theater performance. So just with the beginning of this large scale war, we speak with our artists, and nobody has inspiration to sing, nobody has inspiration, I don't know, to dance, to make theater, to make this Dionysia festival, to be happy, because it's hard to see what happened. But after 2 months of war, we understood that this is also our obligation to do this. This is also something that Russia wants to take away from us, to make political music theater, I don't know, to dance naked on stage and to be free. And that's why we must do this as artists. This is also our obligation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's making music theater is also a political statement.
Yes. Yes, and it's hard because we are in beautiful theater, Rotterdam Schouwburg, and we're doing our stuff, but we know that in this moment, Russia is killing people and Russia destroying our theaters. I don't know, a lot of you heard about theater of Mariupol, which was destroyed with 500 kilograms avia bomb. And also, not just Mariupol, we already have maybe 5 theaters which are destroyed. It's smaller cities, not so known, which has no attention, but so this is also something which dying. So music theater life and artistic life. during this huge tragedy.
So that
So-
means that your work field or your field of work is completely in, I don't know, this limbo of not knowing where to go, what to do.
So it's hard now to do art, especially as an independent company in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So and also our cast with the beginning of the war was spread around the Europe as refugees in different countries and different cities. So, but we had really luxury opportunity to make some residency in Vienna before Rotterdam to collect all our people together and to prepare this performance.
Yeah. So yesterday you performed Chernobyl-Dorf. Who went to the theater? Who saw it? Okay, let me just. Okay, I'm gonna come back to you. What was it like? Oh yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to say. Can you all please turn off your phones? What was it like for you and the audience? Did you get any sense of the theater piece was made before Russia invaded Ukraine? You won the prize before this all happened, but now there's an extra dimension to the political story as well of the piece. So maybe you can first explain to the people that didn't see it what Chernobyl-Dorf is about, and then what it felt like.
So this piece Chernobyl-Dorf was created in 2020, and we started the work even before COVID situation. And it was some kind of imaginary post-apocalyptic society, the story was. And then during our working process, first the COVID come, and we had premiere in Ukraine in 2020. And then it was like, also then the COVID hit the whole industry all around the world and also in Ukraine. And then after the beginning of Chernobyl-Dorf, we experienced two apocalypses. First was this pandemic, and second is this war. But somehow we managed to survive till Rotterdam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the second question was, did you feel that there was this, because of the two crises, so the pandemic and the war, that the meaning of the piece also changed?
Yes, it changed, but it's, something also interesting happened. We have some short video in opera. It's Brezhnev making his speech in 1980s, and he made this speech just before Russia attacked Afghanistan. And we already had this, video in 2020. Now it's, of course, corresponded, which was happened again.
Yeah.
Russian leader proclaimed war on independent country, and what happened.
Yeah, also with us here today are Dóra and Fruzsina. Dóra, your piece is called The Issue. Can you tell us a little bit first what it is about, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. So The Issue, it's actually not the piece that we performed yesterday. We did Issue 2 years, 3, 4 years ago. Yeah.
What is time in COVID time?
It was our second catwalk concert. We call things that I do with Fruzsina. She's the costume designer, and I'm responsible for the music. So we call it a catwalk concert because it's like a fashion show, but choir members are the models. And our first piece was Taboo Collection, where we used different taboos, especially for Hungarians, like gender in Hungary is still an issue. And then this issue was the second piece, and it's about the bureaucratic labyrinth that I think exists in all countries. At least I've been living in Berlin for 2 years, and I thought Hungarian bureaucracy was really terrible. But to be honest, German bureaucracy is worse. So, so the issue is about the different situations of what happens to everyday people when they have to get things done. So things that take up like half of our life. But we try to use humor to get through this. So it's a kind of therapy for both producers, so the choir members. We make the performances together with all 30 people. And also it seems for the audience, it's a kind of therapy to look at bureaucracy from a different angle. And we've gotten some feedback that after seeing the show, when they go into the office, the city office or whatever, they now have a different opinion of what's happening there, and having to wait for hours but yeah, so
When you say we make this piece together, all 30 of you, you mean that it is a collective composing?
we have a word for, we call it the comp method, collective composing, because we from the very the zero moment of what topic we should tackle and what how we should do it, we take in the ideas of all the choir members who are actually amateurs, so they have their normal jobs outside and they're civilians. But we start with collective brainstorming, and then we usually for months we play like games in the rehearsals to get more and more ideas, first about the topic and then musical and artistic ideas, and then we use those ideas to get the final results.
So yesterday we had the talk here also, and I think some of you also discussed it a little bit while having coffee or lunch, is about the hierarchies disappearing. So that this one person on top dictates top down, and that it's becoming more flat. Yeah. What is the value of doing that? I mean, I can also imagine that having someone say, okay, in Dutch we say the knopen doorhakken, someone who cuts through the ropes and just says, okay, we're now going that direction, that also can speed up things.
Yeah, I mean, there is the moment when you need that. You cannot have democracy all the way to the end, because then you will never get to the end. So you need, I always tell the choir, there is a moment until which I am very happy to accept any ideas and use it as an inspiration. And then there is a moment when we don't have more time for that. And then they accept that. And then yeah, this is. Well, I was brought up in an English school, and we were always given opportunities to share everything. And this is this is the opposite of Hungarian education, where there is a frontal teacher telling you what to learn and giving you the facts and no discussion. And I think the moment you start getting people to think even about facts, so you don't give them facts, but you give them questions, and you get them to think about them and have their opinion and reach conclusions from their own background, then it will be their own child. So whatever, like with the choir, people are always asking me, how do you get this choir to come to the rehearsals, how to do this intensive work while they have, I don't know, 3 children and 5 jobs and whatever, and they still come and they still do it for almost no money. And I think it's because it's their child. So it's they gave birth to what we do together, and it comes from the collective composing.
Yeah. Just one more question about the catwalk, and then I want to get to you, Dune. Why do you choose for the catwalk form? I studied fashion design, so I have a background in fashion. And I really loved it. And at the same time, because it's also a political story or a narrative that can, and it's funny. I was wondering why the catwalk form. Is it to be more accessible? Is it just because it's beautiful? Or?
Why we joined the catwalk with the choir?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
It's because I'm working together with Fruzsina. It's a really like by chance that it happened. We were both in Vienna, and she had maybe you should say it.
Hi, good morning. So it was really by chance. I was working in Vienna, and Dóra was living in Vienna that time, and I just went over with my kids for a Sunday lunch, so my kids can play with the toys of her child. And we were just talking, and I said, I had this dream that singing models were on a catwalk and presenting my crazy extreme costumes. And she said, hey, I've got a choir, let's do it. And this is actually how it happened. So when I say that this is what you've seen yesterday is my dream come true, it is not just these kind of public words, but this is what happened. And so we suddenly just realized we kind of invented a new genre that we call catwalk, because we always have really strong some really strong theme. I like to work with topics that are unusual to put on stage. For example, in Taboo Collection, we have songs and collections for topics of death or sex or gender or blood or menstruation or sicknesses, things that you are ashamed to talk about, and we just put it out right there in an abstract way. And I think it really helps that it's not theater, it's not a concert, and it's not a fashion show, but it's a mixture of the three of this. And what even makes it more special, that because the performers are amateurs or everyday people, the audience can connect to them really well. Because sometimes when you see a beautiful model who's like, I don't know, 2 meter high and very skinny, the people just don't feel like that could be me. But we talk about topics that we every day we also live through and we have to deal with. And people are on stage who are like us. So I think that's a really nice connection with the audience straight away.
Yeah, cool. You are one of the jury members. Yesterday, but also today, what comes to my mind when I hear you all talk is that there are taboos that need to be broken. I hear everyday people. You use everyday people, but I've heard that before yesterday as well. Political stories. These three things already show what the jury members somewhat were looking for, but maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what you were looking for and what struck you in these pieces that made them winners.
I mean, it's ridiculous to judge artistic works. First of all, I just have to say that out there first, and then second of all, when you encounter, and I use the word encounter, and all these ideas and works, and you're encountering people from different part of the world, and that is a really powerful thing to have that encounter. And I think that encounter of understanding is what we are lacking in today's world. And I think that this is why, sometimes I sit in on those like policy making people discussions. I feel like the people have already have an idea of what they wanted to say, and they have those statements, and they are not actually talking to each other at all. If you turn on BBC, if you turn on CNN, they're not talking about each other. They are just manifesting statements. Whereas I feel like the power of artists, we are showing the messiness of our ordinary life, or those extraordinary moments in each other's lives. And through that windows, it's the windows to each other's heart and to each other's life. And that is the process. So the question was what I'm looking for. I have no bar of what you can have all this success meters, right? Measures saying, okay, innovation, creativeness, how the lighting is shot. It's all going, that's not my bar at all. It's when I'm encountering those things, what really touched me as a human condition. So that's what I'm looking for. That's a really long question. The answer.
I can listen to you speak on for so much longer, so that's okay. But when you say that you're looking for something that speaks to you as a person, that's also highly personal, right? So that then,
without person, what is there? Without being personal, what is there? And I'm actually so much against hashtags. And I think that the power of being an artist is that we have to be the leader in thinking ahead of the curve. And I think we need to also confront the politicians or the policymakers or the grant money funders to say, this is why we need to have those stories to be told. And to have a political topic is not just that parameters, because to be political, to be socially decent, it takes so much
different formats, it can be very soft dissent power, and that could be very, very strong. If I'm
Can you
making any
explain a
more-
little bit more about soft dissent power? Because I'm also curious to hear from you what it means to make a story that is political or that challenges the narrative, or that might, in case of you from Ukraine, that might even form some sort of national story. I know this is very high, but maybe even give some extra form to a national identity that someone else is trying to take away from you. So what is soft dissent in that regard? Because this seems so much more than just they're taking chances doing what they're doing. It's not.
For some part of the world, as soon as you talk about national identity, it's also a danger. So we also need to have that sensitivities to encounter what the dialogues are we going to have. So it takes so many forms. There's no standard of, but that's what I'm trying to say, that we really need to be careful of what are we talking about the identity. Like for some countries, you cannot be naked on the stage. And you don't have to be naked on stage, and you can still be the most decent power things, right? And sometimes you absolutely need to be naked. And so how do we measure that? So then it's about the nature of the work and how that does open that window. So how does that open that kind of the untouched place that we didn't be able to see from CNN, from BBC, from all these policymakers that tell us what we should think. And this is what I'm also, and that's not hashtag, I hate hashtag. So, okay.
Hashtag do you hates hashtags. Then Roman, maybe from you, how do you guys work with this idea of being political, trying to form this national, not form this national identity, but knowing that there are other forces that are trying to break it? Do you think about that actively? Do you talk about that actively?
For discussion.
And now the translation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In our case, if we speak about Ukraine, maybe it's a good case, because if we now speak about Ukrainian identity, is not national identity, because people who are dying in Ukraine are different nationalities. It's not like in during Second World War when Nazis are coming and they are checking Jews and then taking them away. No, it's not like ethnical genocide. It's a fight between free world and between totalitarian world. So for us, being Ukrainian in Ukraine and fight Russia, it's not been, I don't know, nationalistic. It's about to fighting for some principal values: freedom of speech, I don't know, freedom to make art, freedom to say truth about the history, because we're trying to do this last years, and this is also the reason why Russia invaded us, because we are a country who's speaking about Russian crimes and all what this empire and colonial power do in the 20th century. Something that unfortunately, for example, Germans cannot say, and we cannot say, and we continue to say this about all Russian crimes during the Second World War, after Second World War. So
it's about freedom of speech, of thought, of acting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna look at the audience. There's a question. You were quick to respond. Let me just turn it on if it's not on. Yeah.
Hi, Roman. I believe the work is actually site-specific work, kind of environmental work, and I'm just interested in the challenges you face as an artist to turn an environmental, three-dimensional work into put it on the flats, in the flat proscenium arch, and what the work possibly gains from that, but what it loses from that as well. I'm a site-specific artist a lot myself, so I know how difficult that transformation is. I'm just interested in your, or Illia as well, either of you. Yeah. There you go.
You ask about Chernobyl-Dorf. Yeah. You saw yesterday Chernobyl-Dorf. Yeah. So this piece has a lot of form. You see only one of form is a music theatrical performance, classical piece, 2 hours on a stage, 200 slide cues and so on, all this. But also we have all videos that you see, this is independent performances that we created, and we also have some digital platforms that collect everything of this. So we do some, we invented some special methodology, we call it video archaeology. So we came to some specific place, it was different landscapes in Ukraine, and then we created some performance which is dedicated to this place, to this physical landscape, and we do this performance, but we also make a video documentation. Yeah, so we have, now we have this 2 hours theatrical version, but we have more than 6 hours different video performances. Not all of them were included in this piece. So
the work sometimes
wait,
in 3-dimensional
we have a.
Work sometimes happens in a site. It says here in the program that it's a site-specific performance.
Site-specific performance.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that transition from the site to the stage, the window of the proscenium arch.
Okay. Yeah, this was okay. Yeah, Roma said it was hard. Yes, we had. So for Ukrainian premiere we played not in theater. We play in Kyiv Arsenale. Each huge area. I don't know. Architecturally, it's close to Venice Arsenale, but so it was site-specific works, but yeah.
Because I know when something is happening all around you as an audience, it's very different to when you
it's very different.
Watching
it's very
a picture.
Yes. So in original version we have 3 screens, 3 different screens, and more location, and all audience sitting around all this installation. So it's like huge black box.
Yeah. And
we play in huge black box.
Yeah.
But
every novella, it was very clean, very clean for in a stage. This one stage very clean. This one stage, and on a stage in yesterday, we have a difficult stage because.
Can you use your mic?
Да. Ну скажи, що все було видно, нам треба було все освітити, це було погано. Ми не могли сконцентруватися на кожній окремій.
Yeah, so we lose something. But but you know the story. You have site-specific work, but then you have beautiful festival and huge theater, 20 people working for you, and it's end of your site-specific research, and you do.
Okay, so that's the honest answer.
And you're going to do the classical 2 hours entertainment performance.
Yeah. And I mean, as an audience, obviously you experience it very differently when you're watching passively something in a window than if you're part of something.
Mm-hmm. So what was your experience?
Well, my experience was overwhelming and a very beautiful aesthetic experience, but there's a difference. It becomes an aesthetic experience when you're watching there and there's a wall of sound and emotion coming at you than when you're inside something and things are happening around you and you feel like you're really in something. It's a completely different experience.
I have to say that I thought last night's performance was incredible. Incredible is such a Western word. It's more than incredible.
Incroyable.
No, it's really transformative for me because when we saw it on a pool, it's a video, and this was one of the works that I did not know when it's like in the live performance what it's going to look like, because you have all these beautiful shots, and what happened yesterday was just incredible storytelling, and the theater and the film and the art and the messiness of the emotionally charged performances that I thought was just what I hear what you're saying, because from size specific, how does the Proscenium change? But I just wanted to say it was very successful transformations.
Oh, of course. Oh, that would have been amazing.
Thank you. I would just maybe like to get some ideas how your creation process is regarding music. What's first? Is it simultaneously with visuals? You know,
It's very interesting process.
composition.
We have so many time to create this because we have a pandemic. Don't скажи, что не фестиваль.
Yeah, it was so. In this case, pandemic was opportunity. We have no tours, no new shows, and yeah, we can concentrate on these expeditions. We can, yeah. Also, interesting process during Chernobyl. We spent a lot of time on flea markets because we find some parts of costume we found there, or our percussion installation was made by our artist Evgen Balvis, also trash, which is very ecological and nice.
Well, when it comes to costume designing, Fruzsina, you did the entire catwalk.
He hasn't answered.
Okay, sorry.
No, but
I thought he was.
yeah.
Music composed first.
No. Everything composed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Music already exists. We mustn't compose. Nowadays, composer mustn't compose music. We made costumes together with our costumes. Yeah. You take music from the past. Already, music is already done. Yeah.
Ні, скажи, що дійсно музика народжувалася паралельно цьому всьому. Все було.
But we don't compose music in a classical way, and we don't compose libretto in a classical way. We make these expeditions. We collect different instruments, different artifacts, and then it's all together mixed in some kind of a story. At the beginning, it was no score, it was no libretto, and through this expeditional process, and we find the piece and compose.
And then I would like to go to you and ask you also about the costumes that you designed for the catwalk. Like, how does that process go? Because you said it's a collective thing. You all work together. Is that also simultaneously, or do you get the first ideas from them and then you go? So how does that go?
Well, what is wonderful about working with the choir and Dóra is that we inspire each other. So sometimes I have a crazy idea. I tell her, listen, I want a plain trash costume. So I need like 6 members of the choir from short to tall. And this is what I want to do. And then that inspires her to find the music. Or sometimes she's sending me music sketches. And I listen over and over and over again in a loop. And then I start designing, and that gives me the inspiration for costumes. So I think it's very nice how the music and these abstract visuals help each other. And I've been experimenting many years how to make costume as the main protagonist on stage, because I really think that costume can be an art form. Also tell a lot of things, dramaturgy, it can have humor. And I worked with dancers and actors, and I always felt that something is not working. For example, it was too complete for an actor, my costumes. I couldn't let the person to act in them. Or for the dancers, I limited them in the movements. But with the choir, it just works perfectly, because with the singing, somehow the visuals and the music just help each other and add and create something completely new.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know if I answered you.
Yeah, and yesterday we had a question from the audience about how you take in account climate change while making your pieces, but also traveling the world. I mean, not all over the world at the moment, of course. And he also said that they're quite ecological. How do you guys work? Is that something you take in account? So do you reuse materials, etc.? Or
Yeah, I mean, I try always to start what is left over, and then if I don't find anything existing, I go to secondhand shops or borrow things, create things. But I must say that even though I'm a little bit ashamed of this, if I have a really, really strong idea and that needs to produce something new, then if it's something that I feel I really need to do it, because otherwise our performance not going to work, then obviously I produce something new.
Yeah.
But I also go to flea markets, how you mentioned.
Yeah, but it's also such a big part of what you're doing is the clothing that they're wearing. So I can imagine that it's not always that easy to just find something at the flea market.
No, not always, but you can be creative.
I saw some more questions from the audience. I saw someone putting up their hand.
Thank you. I really loved the throat singing in the show last night, and I was wondering about how it was to incorporate the traditional music with the electronic and the folk music. Did you already know that the music would be so many themes, or was that made during the rehearsal?
So the question about folk singing, yes, and how we, so for this piece, it was important to work with folklore in different, and not just Ukrainian folklore, also in the last scene, we used some very special folklore from Balkan. It's called Ganga, this singing. Yeah, it's a very special singing on the border between Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we found this material, and it was very interesting because we trying to make this our folklore, to make this folklore of our group. So we write text, and then also we start our rehearsal with that kind of singing, which is not familiar with us as Ukrainians, but it's some very special, maybe preliminary folklore, because this type of singing is very, very old. It's just one note and 1 second. It has no consonant intervals. Yeah, and it means that it's our 1,000 years old, maybe, this singing. That's why we put it inside the piece.
All musical
and all music was kind of microtonal. We also trying to deconstruct somehow Ukrainian traditional folk song to microtonalize them.
We preparate everything.
I found it's very powerful of the use of the folklore singings. The Ganga was usually about the sisterhood, and then the women singing, and they would have this like a rape song. Like when they sent off, they would sing like a Ganga style. So when I see that what's happening on stage and you hear it, it's really incredible. And then it's just really define the boundary of what the regions of folklore and how the folklore is the future and then the present day of the chaos and everything. Yeah, I just want to add that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I also, but then it's Bosnian,
It's
Croatian.
It's both. I think originally it's a Croatia who are living in Bosnia and Herzegovina on the border. It's really a few villages. Yeah.
And did you bring people in to help you?
No, it was pandemic time. We cannot travel. It was our It was.
You just
It was. But we was in contact with the local researchers who work with this. We were in contact per mail, and they have a lot of video, audio materials, and text. So it's easy to also to self-educate ourselves in Balkan folklore.
Yeah, cool. That answered your question, right? Yeah. Are there any more questions? I need to come up a little bit closer.
Thank you. Just a question for Illia and Roman. The ensemble who we saw last night in the company, are they a group of people that you have worked with for a long time? Just I was struck by how vulnerable at times, the performers were, and how that probably requires an awful lot of trust in you guys as, creators and directors. So how long has the ensemble been together, and do you work with the same ensemble project to project?
I know, with part of the ensemble, for example, Christina, our choreographer, and beautiful and main role, Christina Slobodeniuk, we made actually 2 or 2.5 big operas. So such a big cast is together only in Chernobyl-Dorf. But with some people, we also made another opera together. And with Christina, we are working last 2 years together. And with small folk singers, Marichka, we also working together last 3 years maybe.
But how do you create also this basis of trust?
We in Kyiv, in Composers Union of Ukraine, we have 16-meter quadrat studio, and this is our place for trust.
Just a follow-up to that, I suppose, because there are such different styles, as an artist, you get the 2 opera singers and the 2 folk singers and the dancers, to create a sort of that cohesion between performers from such different backgrounds. What kind of work did you feel you had to do?
Exactly, Ganga was a point. Everybody can sing Ganga. We now can sing Ganga together, this very old folklore. So we start rehearsal with this point. This is entrance to the piece, is this very, very, very simple singing. Or dancing together with techno.
Yeah.
And then we dancing together techno, we singing Ganga, and in between everybody can do what he wants.
Yeah.
Baroque costumes for opera singers, nice stuff for folk singers, and tutus for ballet people. And so.
Are there any more questions? I'm so impressed with myself now by catching.
Hi everyone, Sean. I was wondering if the scene on the end with Lenin coming down was already there before conflict started in Ukraine.
Yes, it was. It was, but Lenin was without blood. So we cutted him in Rotterdam. Yeah. And this is original. This Lenin is not. It's original Lenin from 50s. We found him in small village in South Ukraine, near my village. It was some theater, and this Lenin was somewhere on the. Yes. Yes, exactly at this village we have now front line. So in maybe 100 kilometers are Russians. Maybe they are looking for this Lenin, but he is in Rotterdam. Yeah, I don't know if you follow the news. When Russians are taking some territories in South Ukraine, they put Lenin back. Even in small villages, is trying to find Lenin somewhere in trash and put him back in the, because they want to this history back in this terrible way. But they do this.
Thank you. No more questions? In that case, I want to thank you all for joining me here today. And then we're gonna split you guys up in different groups. You all have your thing hanging in. Inside you will find a yellow wristband. If there is no wristband, that's okay. You can still join us. On your wristband, you will find 4 numbers. The last one you can ignore. We have set up tables here and over there, and they all have a number. So you can go to the first number on your wristband for your first speed date. After half an hour, I will come in and make you guys switch again. And then there's a second one, and then the same goes for the third one. We have prepared for you some conversation starters, all taken from the dialogues we had yesterday, so that we can continue a little bit the talks that we had here on stage, but also with you. But feel free to not use them if you already have other topics that you want to talk about with the people that are with you. I will also be joining in on the conversations that you will be having and taking notes. So I'm really looking forward to that. Are there any people that don't see their name here or don't have a wristband? Then you are free to join whatever table you want. Yeah, some people aren't here, but that's okay. Then we can mingle a bit more.